Akwa Northeast. Mr. President, this is a motion on the urgent need to reform the housing policy and mortgage financing in Nigeria to meet the escalating housing demands in the country. Mr. President, this motion is sponsored by my humble self and co-sponsored by 8 other of my colleagues, as stated in the order paper. The Senate, aware that shelter is one of the basic needs of man and ranked next only to air, food, water, sleep, and constitute the largest expenditure item of an average household. This Senate observes that in Nigeria, the low and middle class income earners constitute the largest active population making affordable houses a equivalent tax in their lifetime. This Senate recalls that the creation of National Housing Fund through the National Housing Fund Act of 1992 was to cater for the majority of Nigerians in line with the various national housing policies and the various international conventions and treaties, like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, International Conventions on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights 1966, on affordable housing, to which the country is a signatory. This Senate also recalls that by virtue of the provision of National Housing Act, a working-class Nigerian is required to contribute 2.5% of his or her monthly salary to the fund, which provides the source of funding to the primary mortgage institutions, the PMIs. This Senate worried that access to the fund through the PMI is cumbersome due to stringent and complex eligibility criteria, which makes the development of housing through the fund challenging or practically impossible to date. For example, since the creation of the fund in 1992, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, as at 2013, disbursed only 100.5 billion naira. In 2015, out of the 4 million registered contributors to the fund, only 60,000, which is just 1.5%, were able to access mortgage loans through the funds, leading to the construction of only 40,653 houses across the country. This Senate alarmed that the National Housing Policy projections of government by 2020 provides for a minimum of 17.5 million housing schemes in the country to cater for the projected population growth of 200 million Nigerians. This vision is practically unattainable. This Senate concerns that the national housing caters for only the housing needs of the working class contributors, whereas 80% of the active population of Nigeria remains unemployed. This Senate worried that the disposable loan limit through the funds was reviewed from 5 million to 10 million naira and 15 million 25 years ago, and has remained so till date, despite drastic economic changes over the years. And this Senate further worried that there exists little or no impact of the National Social Housing Development Program in the country over the years, and owing to the escalating population growth in our country, there is a dire and urgent need for a total review of our national housing policy framework to meet the needs of our people, especially the poorest Nigerians, in line with the various international conventions and treaties of which Nigeria is a signatory. This Senate accordingly resolved to mandate the Committee on Housing to urgently work out modalities with the various stakeholders in the national housing development sector to ensure the implementation of the affordable housing across the country to cater for the ever-increasing population and most especially the poorest Nigerians. Mr. President, I so move.